This is episode number 151 of the Homeowner Show. Whether you're DIY or looking to hire, we're here to help you find the best information and options for you and your home. My name is Kevin Hackett, and here with me is Craig Williams.
Hello, and welcome to the Homeowner Show. We're glad that you could join us for this episode. Welcome back to the studio, Kevin.
Man, it feels like it's been a while. I think that's probably because it has.
It's been a minute.
I've just been gone. I've been gone, away, out of state, in state, although that is a long way away sometimes whenever you live in Texas. So, yeah.
It's like a couple countries away in Europe.
No kidding. Well, I mean, if you're up in like the Northeast, you can travel, 4 or 5 states in a day pretty easily. So, anyway, just kind of is what it is. But I'm back. Happy to be back. Glad to be. My family is glad that I'm back. So yeah, it's good to be here. How are you doing?
Dude, I'm doing good. Like I was reflecting on life today.
Really?
Yeah, because I had a really good day.
Good.
And I like it feels like almost like a confession, but like I really feel like I'm living a kind of a dream. To a certain degree. I mean, like my kids are all healthy. My family is good. I mean, like today I went to a job that I really enjoy. I got to come home. I took my kids and we went and swam in a lake.
Nice.
We took a boat. We swam at the island on our lake.
Yeah.
And we had a great time. And then I took my kids home. We fed them dinner. We just had a really good day. We just got back from camp with the kids. We took the little ones to kids camp. Got to go to that with them. I mean, and I was like, man, a lot of parents just don't get to take their kids to camp.
Yeah.
Let alone their kids going to camp. They don't get to go to camp with their kids. Mm-hmm. And so I've just had this great, several days now. And I was just like, man, I'm lucky.
Yeah.
I'm very, very lucky. And that was coming on the heels of like some just terrible, awful stuff going on with our family. My dad was in this really awful accident.
Yeah.
Where it was. I mean, like it sounds very like Texas, but he was in an accident with a tractor.
Right.
And his leg it wasn't broken, but it just got really cut up. Really, really bad.
He was actually really lucky that it didn't get broken.
Yes.
Based on what happened.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it walked away from it.
Yeah.
And
which is, from what I understand of what happened, he's very lucky to walk away from that.
I mean, he survived. The water well did not.
Yeah.
So are
they still without water?
No,
at this point?
They were with water the next day.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And honestly, because of some of our business connections and some of the stuff that we do with the show, like we have a lot of good relationships with businesses. And and the guy that came and fixed it, he's been one of our neighbors for close to 30 years.
Okay.
With the business. And so when he heard what happened, man, him and his crew were over the next day getting everything fixed up and repaired. And so like they had water the next day, which was a tremendous blessing.
Sure.
But anyway, so he walks away from the accident. Well, his leg doesn't get any better, and when it happened, my mom took him to the ER, and the people at the ER, all they gave him was a tetanus shot, which, glad they did that.
Probably needed it.
What'd you say?
He probably needed it.
He probably needed it.
Yeah.
But his leg got infected.
Yeah.
And so we took him to the ER, and it didn't go well from there. From there, it looked like he had an infection in his blood. They were having a difficult time identifying the bacteria that was in there, and so they didn't know which antibiotic to throw at it. And then when they did identify it, it was a certain strain of bacteria that they were like, oh, well, we can just use this particular antibiotic. Well, that was the same antibiotic that I think it was like 3 or 4 years ago, almost killed my sister because of an allergic reaction.
No.
And so we didn't know if my dad was going to have the similar allergic reaction because he has some other allergies. And so we kind of had to wait a little bit and see if maybe there was another antibiotic that would work. But the really horrible part about that whole situation is when he went to the ER, they admitted him to the hospital, but they couldn't move him out of the ER.
Oh, yeah. It was full.
The hospital was full.
Yeah.
And so he gets stuck in the ER for like 6 days.
Ugh.
I don't know if you've ever been to the ER.
I have.
But they don't have bathrooms in those rooms.
No.
And he was basically bedridden for like 6 days. And was having to like move in and out of the hallway where they were having people just wait in the hallway for care.
Yeah.
And when you got a bum leg, that's no fun. And so it was just not a fun experience. If you don't have to go to the hospital right now, I definitely don't recommend it.
Stay home.
If you can. I mean, do a video consultation or something, because the hospitals are just, I don't know. And they'll even tell you we were like, is this COVID? And we're like, no, this is just like regular stuff. We're just, and I think part of it is that they're understaffed. And because they were so focused on COVID for such a long time, there's certain aspects of the hospital that are not at full capacity yet.
Sure.
They're not fully staffed, and so they can't fully open the hospital because they don't have the people to give the care that they need to, because they're recovering from COVID.
Yeah.
And so it's like, I don't fault them. I mean, they've been operating under these certain parameters for more than a year now. And I think they're even adjusting to the way things are now.
Yeah, I mean, and we're not in a we're not in a bad place for hospitals. I mean,
no, I mean,
best hospitals in the world, but there's so many of them too. But I mean, it's also a very large city, so.
Well, and part of the issue is he's I always forget, it's Medicare, Medicaid. I think it's Medicaid.
Yes.
And so you can only go to certain places.
Yeah.
That accept Medicaid.
Right.
And so that was a limiting factor.
Sure.
Because where he was at, I think there's like 3 or 4 hospitals.
Yeah. Within
rock throwing distance.
Yeah, I mean, you could throw a rock and hit 3 of some of the best hospitals in the whole state.
For sure.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's weird. It's weird. Well, like, we were going through some insurance stuff back at the beginning of the year, and it's weird, all the contracts that are in place, which hospitals you can go to, which ones you can't, and frankly, some of them are all really, really good, and then there's a few of them that are like, don't take me there,
Yeah.
Like, don't take me there.
Just I don't want to go. I'd rather die.
Right, exactly. You probably will anyway. So it's just the way it goes. Well, man, I'm really glad to know that he's kind of on the mend. I mean, your dad doesn't sit still very well, I don't think.
No.
He likes to be busy. He likes to be doing stuff.
And I mean, like, it's not getting any better at this point. I mean, because like his leg is, like, the infection is healing, but they're telling him he's not going to be walking properly for at least 2 months.
Man.
So,
I mean, I'm a little disappointed because you and I are supposed to go throw axes with him soon. And I don't think he's going to be in a position to be able to throw axes. I mean, maybe from a, like,
I think he's going to be more inspired to throw an axe.
Well, yeah,
out of frustration.
I mean, surely we can get him in a chair, right? Like, get him in a chair, let him throw that thing.
I mean, what kind of torque can you get from?
I don't know. Let's find out.
Is that the right word?
Well, yeah. I mean,
thrust.
It's definitely not thrust.
Thrust an axe?
Velocity.
But
Putting velocity
like
on something.
when you throw something with your arm, what is that called? I mean, like,
propelling?
I don't know.
You're propelling it forward? I don't know.
We both clearly failed physics.
Well, I know that definitely whenever it comes to, like, throwing a baseball, it's going at a certain, I mean, you're measuring it in velocity.
Well, that's what it's measured in, but that's not what it's called when, like, that's not the motion or
I think it's chutzpah. How much chutzpah do you got behind it?
It's only if you're Jewish.
Oh, well, I don't know. I'm not that, last I checked. But either way, I mean, your dad's not a small man.
Yeah.
I bet he could put some chutzpah behind an axe.
He probably could from, when his foot was getting all, infected and stuff. All I could think about was, you ever seen Lonesome Dove or read that book?
Yeah, I mean it's been a long time, but yeah.
So like when towards the end of the book, when Gus has to like lose a leg,
Right.
and then they're like, well, we need to chop off the other one, and he told him no.
Right.
And he's like, why? And he goes, I like the idea that every once in a while I can kick a pig. And I'm like, so help me. If they even start talking about taking his leg, I guarantee you he's pulling that line out.
Oh yeah, that's a staple in your family. That movie, that book, like
we name all our Aussies off characters from that book.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I mean,
I think occasionally we have Clara.
Yeah.
In the studio.
Yeah.
We've never had Dietz in the studio, but he's always lying outside the door.
Yeah, that's because he's just too big to fit in here. He's the biggest Aussie I've ever seen. You said he's not the biggest Aussie you've ever owned, but he's huge.
Yeah, a long time ago, I had a watchdog Aussie named Rolex.
I see what you did there.
Yeah.
Named Rolex.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
And he was 100 pounds.
Jeez, that like Aussies are supposed to be around 55 to 65.
Yeah.
Like
he was a brute.
No kidding.
He didn't live very long though.
Yeah, that's not surprising to me. So, but yeah, I'm glad he's doing better. But yeah, man, what a tough deal. I mean, basically the tractor drove over him.
Right.
Yep. And he's lucky.
But yeah, he's home now, which that's the best medicine is getting to go home.
Right.
So anyway, you and I haven't seen each other for a while. So
it's been a while.
Yeah, so we decided to spend this episode catching up a little bit.
Yeah.
And then hang on to the end of the episode because we're going to be introducing you guys to a new segment that we're going to be doing on the show from time to time.
Yeah.
That we're pretty excited about. And we even have an edition of that segment in this episode.
Yeah.
So hang in there towards the end because we want to make sure you guys meet that.
Right. So one of the things I was going to tell you is today, I was this evening really was hanging out with some teenagers and we were playing a game.
Right.
Pretty epic game. One of my favorite games to watch.
Mm-hmm.
I don't play it anymore because I'm not stupid, but it's hilarious to watch because it's slip and slide kickball.
Nice.
Okay, so all of the base pads are I went to Home Depot and bought 6 mil plastic sheeting, and so it's 10 foot by 100 foot. We cut it out and made the base
diamond
pads. Yes, the diamond, and then
I know terms.
for the bases,
not the one for throwing, but
no,
I know that one
obviously. So for the bases, they're just these little, the blow up kiddie pools, right? And with a little bit of Dawn soap and water, this game is hilarious. And so, but in preparation for this game, it's actually really, it's like one of the worst setups and takedowns of a game ever. Because it takes forever for that stuff to dry, right?
Yes.
You got to blow up all of these kiddie pools. And so I had some people with me, and I was like, hey, air those up.
Mm-hmm.
They took about 4 breaths, and they were like, this is going to take way too long. And I was like, yeah. So what did I do? I went home, and I got my Ryobi air inflator.
There you go.
And I've got a 4 amp hour battery. I've actually got 2 of them. I was like, I'm really curious how long this thing lasts.
Yeah.
Like, so I bought both batteries because I have no idea.
So did you go do the battery thing where you buy the 2 batteries and you get the free tool?
No.
Okay.
No, I bet I've had these batteries for 7 or 8 years.
Okay.
And I use them regularly. They're the lithium 4 amp hour batteries.
Right.
Very, very good. And these pools are, they're, I don't know how big they are, probably 6 foot diameter, but there's like 3 levels of air that you have to put into them. It took me a total of about 25 minutes for 4 pools, but I didn't even use up all of one battery. But it did the job.
Oh yeah.
Definitely did the job. I was very, very impressed with that thing. I mean, I've used it for airing up tires and different things like that, but I was like, okay, this is, I mean, basically 25 minutes of holding that trigger down, which is a hair trigger, by the way. That's such a hair trigger. It'll scare the bejesus out of you whenever you
just be walking along.
Yeah, exactly. It's like I didn't even touch it. I just looked at it, and it'll take off on you. But man, I was impressed. Yeah. I mean, I really thought. I mean, if you've ever used those the regular lithiums with like the old school blower or something like that, like the batteries can drain pretty quickly.
Oh yeah.
But it didn't. I still had plenty of power and didn't ever even have to touch that second battery. So I was pretty impressed.
Well, with the 4 amp hour battery, like I've talked about this before because I've got the backpack sprayer.
Right.
And I use it pretty much every day. But if I put a 4 amp hour battery, that battery with me using it will last me about 2.5 days.
Wow.
Using that backpack sprayer.
That's amazing.
So it's, I mean, like, either it doesn't require a whole lot of power,
sure, or
that battery just has a good longevity on it.
Well, I do think that battery is really, really hefty.
Yeah. And they make a bigger one too, don't they? Make like an 8 amp hour?
Or is it a 6? I think it's a 6. But that's a huge battery. Like,
yeah,
it's not something you'd want to carry around on the end of your drill.
No,
but the 4 amp hours, the 4 amp hour is the size of the old yellow or orangey NiCad batteries.
Okay.
That's how big the size of it physically is.
I was just thinking if they do make a 6 or an 8, and I can't remember which it is. Yeah. I mean, you can probably look it up because my computer's occupied at the moment. But I think they would probably be more for like the shop vac and the miter saw.
Yeah,
their miter saw actually takes 2 batteries.
Yeah, which actually is brilliant because it really gives you a really good gives you a lot of power behind that thing. So let's see what they got here. They got a 3 amp hour, they got a 2 amp hour. There's the 4, and then there's the 6. The 6th is the biggest one they've got. Okay. But I mean, it's a big dude. That 6 amp hour battery is big.
I want to see if it's as heavy as the 40 volt.
Oh, as heavy?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd have to figure some of those things out. But I mean, it's not a small battery. But I mean, if it performs anything like that 4 amp hour battery, it's gonna do a pretty good job. Yeah, for sure.
Well, so last week you weren't here, but I got to talk with Eric.
Right.
And I don't know if you heard, but I built a table.
Really?
Yeah.
What kind of table?
I built a 10-foot outdoor table.
Really?
For my deck.
Okay.
Yeah.
I haven't even been out there to see it.
It seats. It either seats 10 or 12.
Okay. We got a 10-foot picnic table at our house.
Right.
Which is phenomenal.
Yeah.
It
just holds a lot of people.
It does.
So I had 3 benches that fit around the edge, the sides of it.
Cool.
So I didn't have to buy a lot of chairs or anything like that. I basically disassembled an old crappy table and used the legs.
Well, that's good because I was thinking, well, that was probably about a $450 table just with the materials.
No, well, what I told Eric is it cost me $100.
Yeah, it's not bad at all.
So, but like what I used for the tabletop, which I don't recommend to people. I mean, it fits our deck.
Yeah.
But I'd used dog-ear fence panels.
Oh.
And they're more expensive than they used to be.
Sure.
But they're still pretty cheap.
Yeah, I mean, decking, or fencing is pretty inexpensive.
So I framed it up really good.
Yeah.
And just decked it out with those fence panels and sanded it down and then finished it with a polyurethane.
Nice. Yeah, and I mean, you're under a roof out there, so you don't really have to worry about weathering as far as, rain and those sorts of things.
Right.
But you definitely have to think about just the wear and tear of people, putting drinks on it and that kind of stuff. So the polys.
That's really what more that was for. Was for drinks and spills and things like that. So
right.
But yeah, even if the tabletop wears out, I mean, just pop it off and put a new one on. It's really not that big of a deal.
Yeah. Nice.
So
I need to go see this thing.
Yeah. It's a cool. I mean, like we've used it a couple times already to have a bunch of people sitting around.
Yeah.
And I honestly, it's not even finished yet. I need to brace up the bottom, the legs to the frame a little bit better.
Yeah.
But even without it, it's pretty sturdy.
Nice. I mean, woodworking isn't something that you've spent tons and tons of time doing, is
Not
it?
at all.
Yeah.
No.
So this is a pretty new venture for you.
Well, I mean, like, for something like this,
Yeah.
it's very, very basic and simple. Like, there's no, like, it's not pretty. It's just a table.
It's functional.
Yeah, that's really all it's for.
Yeah.
And I didn't really care so much. I mean, like, I didn't want it to look ugly.
Yeah, but it's also on your party deck. Like,
Yeah.
this isn't in your house.
No.
So.
No, but like we had a guy out this morning. We're having all our cabinets redone in the kitchen, and he specializes in live edge tables. And so we were like, well, okay, cool. So like, could you make us a table to match the cabinets so that we kind of have like a cohesive look between the kitchen and the dining room?
Yeah.
And he's like, absolutely. I'll make you a bid up for the table.
Nice.
And I was like, I'd really like it to be cedar because I've got a cedar countertop live edge in my bathroom. And he goes, yeah, no problem.
Nice.
So
Very cool.
We talked about him coming on the show.
Yeah, that would be great.
So because we've never done a cabinet episode.
No, we actually had something lined up at one point. It did never work out, but
What was that one? I don't remember.
with our buddy who.
Oh,
did
that's right.
cabinets.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So
He kept bailing on us.
Yeah, he did. But that didn't ever work out. But no, that would be great. I mean, well, first of all, I mean, woodworking, I love doing that kind of stuff. I just don't have enough time
Yeah.
to do it. I've actually got two cedar side-by-side cuts of a tree. So whenever you lay them side by side, they're a mirror image of each other. And they're full 2-inch slabs.
Like 2-inch thick.
Yeah, and so and they're about probably 8 foot long, something like that.
Okay.
So what I really want to do is I want to mock those up and put epoxy down the middle of them and make a table out of them. So it's one of those things I had on my radar to do for a long time, and then we bought that picnic table, so did never get to it, but I still have it.
Why do you want to do the epoxy?
Because if I just put them side by side, I'll have to rip them on one edge,
Right.
and the table would wind up being about 22 inches, 20 to 22 inches wide.
Mm-hmm.
And a table is typically 3 foot wide. So if I put the epoxy down the middle, then I can keep the live edge in the middle and on the outside, and I can just make it bigger. So I can make it wider at that point. And I just think it'd look cool. So
22 inches. How many shy are you of 3 foot? Is that 36?
yeah, 36 is full 3. So it's almost, it's a foot, a little over a foot, to be able to.
That's a lot of epoxy.
Yeah, well, it is. But I mean, I've seen some really cool things done, and I don't know that I would do a full 30.
Did we talk about this before? Because didn't you say you wanted like green or something like that?
Yeah, either green or blue, but like a deep blue. But I would not put a foot of epoxy in there, but I would probably try to make it closer to 30 inches instead of 36. But
Yeah.
Anyway, I haven't figured all that, because really what I wanted to make it for was like a bar top. I wanted to make a bar top.
Because I think the one I ended up building, I think it's like 32 inches wide.
Okay. Yeah.
Because it looks a little narrow,
Yeah.
but like it's functional.
Yeah.
And you can fit a plate on there.
Yeah.
No problem.
Right. Yeah.
Dude, can you reach that bottle of bourbon behind you?
I can.
Because as we get towards the last segment of the show, we may need 2 bourbon Craig.
Oh.
And right now it's just 1 bourbon Craig.
Okay. Let's see what I can do.
Yeah, if you can grab that, that would be fantastic. Yeah, I mean, like the thank you. I mean, like the table itself, I think it took me a day to put it together.
That's not bad.
No.
No, I mean, did you have any sanding that you had to do on those fence posts in order to make them?
They're not completely smooth.
Okay.
But I did have to sand them.
Yeah.
And it did take me a little bit longer to sand them because I thought I had a fully functional belt sander.
Oh.
And I didn't. I was mistaken.
Okay, so I've got a story about a belt sander. So back when I got married, I got a little jealous. I mean, these women, they get these lingerie showers, and they get to hang out with their friends, and like they bring them stuff for free. and my wife had like 4 of them.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is ridiculous.
She had 4 showers?
Yes, just for her. It was insane. She had, her church people and her school people, and then anyway, she had all these people. Which is kind of funny because if you know my wife, she's pretty introverted. So anyway, so I was kind of like, I kind of joked to one of my friends. I was like, you know what? Like, guys should get tool showers. Mm-hmm. That's what guys should get. That needs to happen. And little did I know, he went off, told the rest of my friends, and then they threw me a tool shower, which was awesome, dude. Like most of the Ryobi tools that I have came from there, and like I got a 10-inch table saw, I got a drill, I got all kinds of stuff, man. It was really, really awesome. They got me a circular saw, a blower, and tons of other stuff. But one of the things that they got me was a belt sander. And I was really, really excited about it because I love doing woodworking and stuff. And for one reason or the other, like you have to have the right project for a belt sander because the belt sanders, they'll take the wood off.
Right.
Like they'll just flat eat through a board. So you got to be careful. And I bet I didn't use it for probably 5 or 6 years. Had it up on a shelf in the shed. And one day I was like, yep, I need that thing. Finally, I found a reason to use it. So I pulled it down, and I saw something like crawling on it. And I'm like, oh, man, what, it's in the shed. I mean, there's spiders everywhere, right? And so I was like, what is this? So I opened it up, and, dude, the entire thing is just infested with ants.
What?
I know. It's the weirdest thing. I don't know where they came from. Why they were there, but they were living. They had made a nest inside my belt sander.
Was this in Arkansas or was it in Texas?
It was in Arkansas.
It was in Arkansas. Okay.
And it was up on a shelf.
Yeah.
And I didn't see them coming in. I didn't see them coming out. I opened the box completely full of ants. They had shredded like the insides of this thing, and I could not. It was not functional. Even if I could have gotten them all out, which I don't know if that would have ever happened.
Like they ruined the belt sander.
Yes.
Okay. They were probably crazy ants.
Well, they were crazy as far as I was concerned.
So certain kinds of crazy ants are known to strip wires.
Yep.
And disassemble electronics.
That's what they were doing.
Yeah.
Pissed me off.
Yeah. So this is actually how we discovered tawny crazy ants in the Houston area. So down in the Port Authority, they have these massive X-ray machines that they run a lot of these shipping containers through.
Okay.
In order, they just use it to,
see what's in them.
Sniff out paraphernalia. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
So one day, one of them just died.
Okay.
And they're like, well, this is weird. And so as they investigate, they find that there's a colony of ants that has set itself up and eaten the X-ray machine.
Yeah, and it's one of those weird things. Is like, where did they come from?
Yes.
Where are they going?
Yeah.
Well, they weren't coming in. I mean, they were there, and they weren't going anywhere.
And if anybody's listening to this and going like, that sounds really familiar. So there was like this, the guy that discovered him, his name was Tom Raspberry.
Okay.
And so people thought that we had discovered a new species of ant.
No.
And so they started calling them the raspberry ants.
Okay.
Raspberry crazy ants.
Right.
Well, later found out that no, it wasn't a new species of ant. It was actually it was a crazy ant from the Caribbean, the tawny crazy ant that had been around. I mean, we'd known about it for a long time. It had just never made its way to Houston.
Wow. Wonder how it got here.
It's the ship channel.
Yeah, I mean, it's just they swimming.
No, they came in on.
They came in on a ship.
On a ship.
And,
yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing is like the whole colony, or I guess it doesn't matter if it's a whole colony.
I mean, like, if you've ever seen a boat with shipping containers on it.
Yeah.
I mean, like that ain't the only thing they ship in. Oh, no. This is the same thing I tell people with Amazon boxes all the time.
Right.
You know, like there are stowaways.
Yeah.
In just about every container.
Yeah.
So, I posted this on my business page a while back. I think it was actually week before last. I had a customer call me and said, like, I have a crazy beetle infestation in my house. I don't know what's going on. Could you please come and help? No problem.
Yeah.
So when it's an odd call, I'm usually the one that gets it.
Yeah.
You know, like, because if it's odd, it's usually going to take a lot of time. And you know, I've just been dealing with weird stuff for a long time.
Yeah.
So it took me 15 minutes to figure this one out.
Oh.
So
that's not very long.
Well, it wasn't just mostly because I've seen it before and I knew what to look for.
Yeah.
And so she was like, there's so many beetles in my windows. And I was like, okay, like the reason you're in your windows is because they're flying to the light.
Sure.
That's not, and so because people think that a lot of times when they see the bugs in the windows, they're like, oh my gosh, my window has a problem or my window has a leak. That's not always the case. It's just like, and so what you do is you start walking through the house and you start looking for concentration. Like, okay, which windows am I seeing more beetles in than I am in the other ones?
Right.
And so that will give you a smaller radius with which to look for the infestation.
Sure.
So I ended up finding these beetles in a drawer in her bedroom, and in the drawer was a plastic bag, and in the plastic bag was a box of Rid-X.
Oh.
And for those of you that don't know, Rid-X is you basically you flush it down your toilet.
Right.
And it's used to deal with, what do you call those things?
The
septic system.
Yep. That's what it is.
And it's helpful to keep your septic system clean.
Yeah.
Is what it's for.
Yeah.
Some people, because this house did not have a septic system,
okay,
some people use it to help keep their pipes clean.
Okay.
It doesn't really work well.
I was going to say, that's not that. There are better ways to do that than that.
Yes. So anyway, as I opened, and if you go to my Facebook page, you can find it. I think I cross-posted it a couple different places. If not, you can find it. It's not difficult. Like, as I pulled the box out, there were hundreds of beetles.
Oh, my goodness.
That had cut perfect circular holes out from the inside out. Holes coming out of the box of Rid-X.
Oh, my goodness.
And so, like, clearly the box had been infested before she brought it home. And then when she brought it home, it hatched.
Yeah.
And then they just started, like, looking for something else to infest.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, it took me 15 minutes to find it, and that's how long it took me to solve it, too, because the solution is you take the box outside.
Right. And then you have no more beetles.
And then you're done.
Then you're done.
I mean, there's going to be some flying around, but they're going to die.
They're going to die. They're going to leave.
Yeah.
When you open the door. Yep, they're going to get out.
They're idiots. They're going to fly to the window and die of dehydration.
Yep.
So, problem solved.
Yeah.
But so if you don't do that and you don't find it, then yeah, you're going to have a massive problem.
Yeah. So the moral of that story is, leave all the boxes that you can outside.
Right.
And especially the boxes that the items arrive in.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, if you get a box from Amazon or wherever, open it outside, take the container, things in, out, and leave it outside.
Yeah.
It's no big deal.
I'm so proud when I pull up to a lot of my customers' houses and I see Amazon boxes in the trash can.
Yeah.
So, and it's nothing against Amazon. It's just like,
well, what are they going to do? I mean, it's all they can. I mean, they've got like thousands and hundreds of thousands of boxes in a warehouse.
It is unreasonable to assume that Amazon is going to treat their boxes with pesticide, because then they're going to be liable for your exposure.
Right.
Like, it's not their fault
and
all
why
of
would
you
they
people
spend that
are
money
so
anyway?
litigious. So if you were, if you weren't so uptight and you weren't so, like, blaming, like, companies could actually take care of you and deal with these kinds of issues.
Sure.
And, like, but at the same time, like, people, like, we don't need to be exposed to pesticides.
No.
And so, like, that you shouldn't want them to do that. And obviously, I'm joking when I say, like, if you would just stop being litigious, they could take care of it. They still wouldn't do it because it's expensive.
Right. I was going to say, they're not going to incur the cost of that.
Right.
I mean, they don't need to.
Yeah, or the exposure. I mean, like, it's just it's to them or their employees, because then they're going to have to hire somebody like me to consult on how you would even do that.
No, they don't want to. They don't want to try to afford you.
But they should.
Call me, Amazon.
It'd be worth every penny.
Yeah, there you go.
All the millions of pennies.
All the millions of pennies. That's good. Hey, I will tell you this. There's a percentage of life left on the old iPad over here that's controlling a lot of things that people are watching on the Facebook. So I'm thinking it might be time to move on to the new segment.
New segment. What are we calling this?
This segment is called Terrible Stories.
Terrible Stories.
That's exactly right. It's simple, but it really packs a punch.
So, and honestly, I have to say, like, this new segment is actually inspired from one of my favorite shows, the IT Crowd.
Oh, yeah.
They have an episode where they talk about a show in Britain called Builders from Hell.
Oh, man, that's a funny show. If you like Community, go watch IT Crowd.
That's right. Absolutely.
So, yeah.
But anyway, what we want to do is we want to curate some of the terrible stories that you have. So if you are any kind of contractor or service provider, and you've had an experience with a customer who was particularly terrible, we want to hear this story, and we want to share this story.
Yeah.
Now we don't want to share any names or addresses or anything like that. We don't want any personal information, but we just want the story.
Yeah. So change the name if you have to.
Yeah.
But yeah, if
send us the story how you want the story told.
Yeah.
That's fine, but just send us the story. Likewise, if you are a homeowner and you've had a terrible experience with like a contractor or any sort of service provider, don't send us the name of the business, because we're not gonna
say it.
Yeah. So, but like, just send us the story.
Yeah.
We'll give you credit for the story. We'd love to share the story with our audience, because we think these are stories that people want to hear. And as a matter of fact, we even have a story to tell tonight. So, and this one's a little bit old, but it's still relevant.
Yeah.
So there was a business owner that this guy had been in another business, and he was looking to get out of that business, and so he looked to buy a small business.
Okay.
And he wanted to buy one that had been in business for a little bit of time, so that he wouldn't have to build the business when he wouldn't have to start the business, basically.
Sure.
So he wanted to buy an existing business.
Yeah.
So he did. He bought an existing business, and this particular business sold products that had warranties on them. But the longest warranty on any of their products was about 10 years.
Okay.
So when he bought the business, he had a book of existing customers because they were all receiving recurring services.
Right.
At least most of them on the books.
Okay.
But the ones that had warranties were basically like one-time service. Engagements.
Yeah, because those had longer. One time, longer warranty.
Yeah, more expensive.
Exactly.
Yeah, and so very, very expensive products.
Okay.
And so when this guy bought the business, he'd been operating the business for about a year, and he got a notice in the mail saying that he was being sued.
Oh, that's not good.
And so it was, I think it was actually one of those deals where he was like served papers.
Oh, yeah.
He's like, are you such and such? Right. Yeah, I'm such and such. Well, you've been served.
You've been served.
Yeah, and so he's like, what the hell?
Yeah.
So anyway, he gets the notice, and so he obviously contacts his insurance company and says like, hey, I'm being sued.
Right.
For breach of warranty. Basically was the claim.
Okay.
His home had been damaged, claiming that what his company said that it had not done what it said that it was going to do.
Right.
And so now he was going to sue the company for damages.
Okay.
So new business owner flips out.
Well, sure. I mean, he's only owned this business for a short amount of time. Probably has never seen said customer, never been to said customer's home, and now he's...
Yeah, exactly. He was like, I've never even heard of this person.
Right.
Never been to this person's home. I don't know what the hell's going on. So starts going through the company files, and sure enough, like 20 years ago, the existing company had taken care of this issue, and charged him and gave him the 10-year warranty. But it's 20 years later.
Oh.
But this homeowner is going, well, look, I feel like this product should still be in use, should still be good. You should have warrantied it for this long. So I'm suing you.
No, that doesn't. I mean, really, this guy sounds like an idiot. I'm just saying it up front.
So the new business owner reaches out to the customer and says, look, I rather than go through the lawsuit, I'd be happy to come back out and do what I can. I'd rather
Reproduct.
I'll redo the service, and see if I can make you happy. And he's like, no, I don't want you to do that.
Okay.
He's like, okay, fine. And so new business owner turns to his insurance company and says, what do I do? And he says, well, we've got to go to court. So they go to court, and the insurance company settles.
Really?
Yes.
Oh my goodness. This okay.
This is what makes people so terrible, is that they know that.
Yep.
That they know that.
That's right.
And they don't care. What they care is that, one, ha ha ha, I got my way. Mm-hmm. Two, ha ha ha, I get a little paycheck.
Right.
For something I never had coming anyway.
Right.
But they don't think about the downline consequences of that now new business owner having to pay
so much more in insurance.
Yes.
Yep.
Their premiums go up like crazy, and it's because most people don't own businesses and they don't understand how that works. And this particular person that I know, I mean, they had only owned that business for like a year and then got hit with that.
Oh.
And it's like, what do you do?
Nothing. I mean, it sounds very similar. You may remember a conversation that we had about my wife who got in a little
the fender
bender that didn't bend any fenders. And said lady gets out of her vehicle. Everything's fine. Are you fine? Are you fine? Everybody's fine. All right. I'll see you later. Everything's good.
Yeah.
And a year later, we're getting notice that she's had tens of thousands of dollars worth of services done on her neck or back, all these sorts of things. And the insurance company could even see where she had done this multiple other times.
Right.
And they settled, and she wound up with like a $50,000 check out of the deal.
That's ridiculous.
$50,000. And you want to know like what $50,000 does to your insurance premiums? For just auto, I mean,
jacks it through the roof.
It does. I mean, for something that should have never really happened, and this sounds like a very similar situation. And it's just so very frustrating. Why can't people just be good people?
Yeah.
I
had a friend recently that her son was about to turn 16, and so she reached out to her insurance company, and she was like, "Hey, I need to add my son to my policy." And she'd had a long relationship with this insurance company, and they said, "Yeah, it's going to be $12,000."
Oh.
And she was like, "What?" And he's like, "Yeah, it's going to be $12,000 to add your son to your policy." And she's like, "Why?" She goes, "Because he's 16." And she's like, "But he's never done anything."
Right.
And they're like, "Yeah, we don't want him."
Right.
I mean, that's the message that you tell somebody when you're like, "Hey, it's going to be $12,000."
Right.
And it's like, who does that?
Yeah. No.
Some of that kind of stuff just, pisses me off.
Chaps your hide.
Yes. And, man, so here's the deal. I'm going to really enjoy this new segment.
Okay.
Because if you've been to somebody, we want to share that story.
That's right.
Yeah, and we don't want to necessarily expose you, but we're going to tell people where the story comes from, and you can draw your own conclusions.
Right. Yeah, I mean, because listen, we have said from day one, our primary thing that we are doing this podcast for is to help people own their homes better. We want people to have some tools in their tool belt that whenever a contractor comes around, they know how to talk to the contractor. They understand the plumbing or the HVAC or the pest control or whatever it is that they're doing, that you have some understanding of that industry. And guess what? There are some real rats out there.
Yeah.
And they're looking to just scratch whatever they can find and eat and devour whatever they can. And they don't really care about you. So, look, terrible stories are coming your way, Mr. Person that's bad.
You know what? And if here's the thing. For the most part, I don't want to share names. But, if you run off with some old lady's money.
Yeah.
And just leave her flapping in the wind because you didn't fix your house, I'm probably going to share your name.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah. You deserve that.
Yeah.
By the way, have you ever heard... This is a whole other thing. We're not going to get into it now. Have you ever heard of the gentleman bandit?
No.
Okay. This is a whole other thing.
I mean, I've heard of gentleman bandits.
Okay.
Like, I've heard different stories of, like, you know, they steal, but, like, they leave, like, a nice card or, like, you know.
Yeah, so apparently, this is a story you and I will have to talk about on offline, but apparently there was one in Houston a number of years ago. And anyway, it'll be interesting to talk about.
Well, we didn't even talk about my car getting broken into this weekend.
No, we're gonna have to talk. I mean, we're literally on the edge here.
Okay.
Of our show.
Well, let's wrap it up.
We can talk about it. The people online just won't be able to hear it.
Cliffhanger.
We will. We'll just banter about that next week and find out about your vehicle being broken into, because that sucks.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but. Thank you for downloading today's episode. We're glad that you're here. We're both back in the studio. Should be here for a while, which is really, really awesome. But we're glad you're here. Thanks for downloading. If you haven't already, click the bell, click the like button, click the subscribe button. In fact, Craig, I've been told that if enough people click that subscribe button, some magical things happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So, click magic. Yeah, click the subscribe button. The more people that do it, magic things happen apparently. And so,